In what I think qualifies as at least somewhat of a surprise, the Dallas Cowboys have chosen to restructure the Terence Steele contract, a move that will save them $4.5 million in salary cap space this year. Now, what is most noteworthy to me is the Dallas Cowboys did not need to restructure Terence Steele. They didn't need cap space right now. They have more of it than what they had previously. They were not up against the gun the same way other teams were in terms of making the money work this year. So why did they do that? There are a few reasons we'll get to on today's show, but we are in a sub-battle this month against Saints now here at Chat Sports. We have the early lead over them after just the first 2 days, 99 versus almost a nice number for the Saints. Let's make sure we crush them and take care of business. You want multiple Cowboys videos every single day? Hit that sub button right now. The Cowboys have restructured the Terence Steele contract. That news coming in from ESPN's Field Yates. Credit to him for being first on that one. This saves $4.5 million in salary cap space this year. What this does is drop his base salary from $7.25 down to about $1.7. We'll round up, or $1.63 if you want to round more accurately on that front. Then adds $1.125 million each of the next 4 seasons to make up for that salary cap difference there. So why'd the Cowboys free up this money? I think there are a few different possible reasons as to why the Cowboys chose this. All of them potentially bode as positive reasons for the Cowboys. First up, the simplest explanation, given their own history, is they have faith in Terence Steele. They like what they saw from him in training camp in the preseason. Well, not that he played in the preseason, in week 1. And they go, okay, he's going to be here next year. Therefore, it's fine kind of borrowing from the present, or borrowing from the future, borrowing from the present to pay for the future. Terence Steele wasn't good in 2023. He really struggled coming off a down year, off the injury. He was not the same player. All of his numbers went the wrong way. Sacks allowed went from 1 to 8. Hits went from 4 to 12. Hurries went from 15 to 34. He had 7 flags compared to 6. More snaps. His run blocking, most notably, really fell off a cliff. Now, against the Browns in week 1, pretty solid. 1 sack, and that was it. Didn't get beat very much in pass protection. The Cowboys made it easier on both him and Tyler Guyton. His run blocking, if we want to value PFF, went up there. We didn't mention him much in training camp. I think that's because he wasn't getting smoked the same way he had been previously. Long season, long way to go, but I think we've seen some positive things out of Terence Steele that made him look more like the 2022 version than the 2023 version. Now, with what they've done with the contract-wise, it is harder, quote-unquote, to cut him. We'll come back to that in some of the deceptionness involved there. But do you think Terence Steele will start at right tackle in 2025 for the Cowboys? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's video. If the ad comes on the YouTube side, great. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Y for yes, N for no. Although you will not get as much savings by doing this move if you cut Terence Steele next offseason, the Cowboys can still move on from Steele if they so choose. His 2025 cap hit is now $18.13 million. That changed slightly from what it was previously. The dead money jumps up by about the $4 million that you saved this year to $13.5. You still save $4.63 million if you cut him before June 1st. You actually save $14 million after June 1st by choosing to release him. Significant savings involved there. It then gets caught up with some of the other bigger cap hit in 2026. But you can still do that if they want to. So then why'd you free up this extra cap space you didn't need? The optimist in us might say, Cowboys plotting something big. They're going to make a big move. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to add the talent they didn't add in the offseason. They're actually going to be a 365 days, 365 7-day week organization that's always doing things and making moves. The Cowboys right now have about $27 million in salary cap space once you adjust for the savings from the Dak Prescott extension and this Terence Steele restructure. So the $4.5 million you saved, you did not need to have. You didn't need to have that in case of injuries, to add some practice squad players for injured reserve replacements. You didn't need that money. You were fine. You had plenty of salary cap space. that you could have rolled over and not spent. So then maybe they could be planning something. And that's what the optimists in us, I'm sure, wants to say. Like, oh, yeah, the Cowboys they're cooking up something. It's the Windy meme right now. Why would they do that? Different organizations, maybe I have some more faith in. Dallas, not so much. Look at some of the options that they could pursue and another possible reason for why they restructured Steele. But first, today's show is made possible by Gametime. Gametime is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. Got a pretty good deal on one of the USA friendlies that I went to. Gametime also has a new feature. It's called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Their curation through Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more, including, of course, Dallas Cowboys football games. So download the Gametime app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Gametime today because what time is it? It's game time. Link and the code are in the comments and the description of today's video. Your big possible move, well, if we like our guys, is a Micah Parsons extension. Micah obviously making some comments. We'll break those down more in depth on Thursday's live show. I would not get my hopes up here. Micah Parsons only entering year 3 of his contract. So an extension would be, entering year 4, he's now through year 3, An extension likely increases his 2024 cap hit by a little bit. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. It's not the same savings you get from a Dak and Lamb extension. I would expect a CeeDee Lamb-esque deal here next offseason. And probably by CeeDee Lamb, less about the money, more about the dragging it out, paying at the last second, getting it done, potential holdout stuff, etc. Be nice if they didn't do that once at the top of the market rate, but something tells me that will happen. If the year goes the way we think it's going to go, you will hear trade rumors on Micah Parsons as well. So would you extend him? Or like now? Or would you do nothing? Or would you consider trading him? Sound off in the comments of today's show. P for pay, T for trade, W for wait. You could also add a playmaker. I still have doubts about your overall pass-catching core and running back core beyond CeeDee Lamb. Depending on Jake Ferguson's status, could be a little bit dicey. At tight end, too, with Luke Schoonmaker having to step up. If there's someone you can find, you'll probably get a better feel for that come trade deadline time. Something you could certainly consider. Could also still get more front four help. Under the radar, Osa Odigizua, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Marshawn Nealon, plus Micah, of course, too, played a massive amount of snaps in that game against the Browns. A very high figure that outpaces some of their projections in previous years, and I get a little bit worried about them holding up. 60 snaps for an interior lineman is a ton of snaps for Osa. You still might be looking for one more impact piece there. Speaking of Osa, could do a surprise extension. You got money. You can pay those guys now if you want to. You could work on an Osa Odigizua extension. Down the line, you got other big deals coming. DeRon Bland, Tyler Smith, maybe Jake Ferguson in that bucket potentially as well. But you can't pay those guys right now, which kind of plays into our third point we'll get to here in just a second. But this season, before the trade deadline, will the Dallas Cowboys make any big moves? 1 for yes, they will. 0 for no, they will not. What is most intriguing to me as a possible answer here, and maybe number 1 is the simplest answer, a potential change in how this Cowboys team manages and handles their salary cap. If you did not know, any unspent salary cap space actually rolls over. It is not a use it or lose it proposition. It carries right on over into next year. So if there is a very valid school of thought out there amongst NFL teams and NFL media and cap nerds, etc., that if you're going to pay a player on an extension for that given year, you might as well restructure it. Or at least if they're going to be there for a year or 2 years beyond that. Because what that actually ends up being for you is it's an interest-free loan. You were going to pay Terence Steele $7 million no matter what this year. You'd rather have him count $2-ish million on the cap and worry about the $5 million later. Because the value of a dollar today is always higher than what it is tomorrow. Having that dollar you can spend now versus spending the same dollar next year when the salary cap jumps by $20 million, whatever it ends up being, that is a significant difference. And there is a school of thought to doing that. It's why teams like the Niners and Browns, and the Eagles to an extent too, have spent so much money and yet have massive salary cap space too. They're just rolling it over every year. And this allows the Cowboys to set up a situation where they can be profoundly aggressive in 2025 if they so choose to be. Now, looking at Spotrac and over the cap numbers match pretty similarly here. It'll ebb and flow and change based on the actual projection number once we get it before free agency begins. The current Cowboys cap space is roughly $28.3 million. Now, when they take the Dak Prescott contract and they restructure it like they are going to, it is built to be restructured. They structured it this way on purpose. They will save, with a snap of their fingers, roughly $37 million. They will do the exact same thing with the CeeDee Lamb contract, and they will save roughly $20 million. So just like that, in 2 moves and rollover cap space, you've got $85 million in salary cap space. Instantly, it's there. It's free to spend, and you don't have that many big-time free agents. Yeah, Tank Lawrence, Brandon Cooks, maybe Zach Martin. It's kind of it to an extent. There's not that many huge pieces you have on your roster there. That is before, by the way, additional moves. That is before you pursue making a decision with Malik Hooker or Donovan Wilson at safety. Before you figure out what you're going to do with Zach Martin and Tank Lawrence and maybe extending Zach Martin and bringing down his cap hit even further if he doesn't want to retire. Before you touch Terence Steele's deal again. Before you touch Trayvon Diggs' deal. Paying Micah Parsons saves you money. You can have 9 figures in salary cap space if you want to this offseason. That is what Dallas is staring down the barrel of. And that is a very good spot to be in. If they want to, Dallas can have salary cap space. And they can spend on their own guys and outside guys and be aggressive in a way they haven't been in recent history.